Hello everyone, this is Anand Vemlapati from Vidyanaipunya. Today in this quick demo, I would like to cover one of the important concept of networking, which is a Bastion host. I don't know whether you heard about this word, Bastion host. It is like a host, it is like a server, but it is a special type of server, not specific to a cloud environment, but it is a networking concept which can be hosted. You can provision that Bastion host in your virtual network, wherever you are provisioning all the other resources. And then the Bastion host will have a public IP. The use of Bastion host is it will allow you to connect to the private resources within your virtual network. So the main advantage is to be able to connect to virtual machines, for example. So if you have virtual machines with a private IP, they don't have a public IP. So there is no way that you will be able to connect to them, even though the port is open. Let us say SSH port is open or RDP port is open in case of a Windows machine. You will still not be able to connect to those machines because they don't have a public IP. So in a real-time scenario, it is very uh, prevalent that VMs will have only private IP addresses, right? For demo purpose, we may create VMs, virtual machines with public IP, so that we'll be able to access them. But in a production environment, test environment, whenever you see in a real-time scenario in any enterprise, you will have virtual machines created with a private IP so that they are protected and they cannot be accessed very easily. So they can be accessed only from within a private network. If you don't have a private network, if you still want to connect to them, then Bastion host is the best resource for you to provision. And it is not a free resource. This concept is available with all cloud vendors. AWS has Bastion host, Azure has Bastion host. So in this demo, let us just see how to connect to a private virtual machine using Bastion host. We will see both the examples. In one example, we will try to create a VM, and as part of the VM, after the creation of VM, we will try to provide a Bastion host. And in the second example, we will see how to provision a Bastion host first and then uh, create a virtual machine. And then in both the scenarios, we'll try to connect to that virtual machine having that private IP. So let us get started. Let me share my screen. Okay, my screen is being shared. So I will resource group section right now. Okay, I think there is some error. Let me just go to resource groups. Yeah, I have three resource groups, as you can see. And then I will just use this East US resource group. Right now, there are no resources available. This East US is empty. What I will do is I will try to create a virtual machine right now. So let me just try to create. I don't want to create a resource group, right? So I want to create a virtual machine. Here itself you can find, or you can just go and then search. Let me just do from here, create a virtual machine. I'm going to create a virtual machine and then give, let us say VM1. The other one, I will just give the name as VM2 so that we understand the difference. Let us say my VM1, availability zone 1 is fine, standard security is good enough. Ubuntu is fine. You can go with Windows, it doesn't matter. And then sizes, I will just go with a small size, let us say B2S, 2 VCPS, 4 GB RAM. I think that is good enough for me. I can just go with a standard B2S, Ubuntu, and then to connect to that machine, I need some user account. You can go with the public key, SSH key as well, but I will just go ahead with a user account here, Azure user, give some password. Then I will open two ports, SSH to connect to that machine, and then port 80 so that I can install a web server and then try to access that web server from the machine itself. So I'm opening both the ports. If you simply want to connect, if you don't want to install any web server, that is also good. Because the purpose of Bastion host is just to be able to connect to the machine. If you want to do the demo only up to that part, you don't need to open port 80. SSH port is good enough. I'll just go for a standard SDD. And as part of networking, I will say public IP is none. That means this particular VM will not have any public IP. Okay. So I'm not, and then it will create some virtual network. Let us say my VM1 VNet, whatever is the name, good enough. No changes here. Monitoring also no changes. Just to improve the speed, I can disable boot diagnostics. Otherwise, it's just optional. And then I want to install a web server. So for that, I will just make use of either custom data or user data. You can do enable user data and then send a script here, or you can copy and paste the script here that will install. Let me just try to get the script to install. I'm using user data here. In the other VM, I will just use custom data. By the way, I have created a separate video, what is custom data and how to use it. I will probably link to the description. I will provide a link. It is available in the channel. So you can go through that video as well. But here all we are doing is you are just sudo su is we are changing as a root user, and then update operating system with all the patches, apt update, apt install Apache. This is going to install Apache server, and then this is going to start the Apache server. This is going to enable Apache server, and then I'm going to echo h1 means I'm going to, this particular message will be created. This will be redirected to index.html file. So this is the redirection, that greater than symbol, which is going to display my HTML file from Ubuntu OS, and then it is going to display public IP computer name. Okay, and then that is good enough. The other one is a comment. I don't need this. Let me just delete this. Okay, so now I have a script. This particular script is going to run at the time of provisioning the VM itself. I don't need any tags. Let me review and create. So I hope the validation will be successful. Otherwise, we have to fix it. Let us see. Okay, validation passed. Create. So this is going to create a new VM. So this is going to deploy a new VM. Meanwhile, I will try to create another VM. Let me just open another tab. While in the first tab, the VM is getting provisioned with all the related resources like virtual network and all. Let me try to create another virtual machine from here. But for the second virtual machine, what I'm going to do is I'm going to provision a Bastion host first. So for this machine, we did not provision any Bastion host. We are directly creating the virtual machine. For the second VM, I want to provision a Bastion host. To provision a Bastion host, you need a network. So we need to go create a virtual network. Let me just go to virtual network. I will try to create a virtual network. Okay. I will probably name it as VNet 2, my VNet 2. In the same resource group, same region, this is okay. That can be anything. Really doesn't matter. And IP address, for the security, we are going to provision a Bastion host. If you see the description here, Bastion host is a paid service. It is not free, but it provides secure RDP SSH connectivity to virtual machines. So I'm going to enable this. So that means I'm going to provision a Bastion host within this particular virtual network. You can name whatever you want. Let me just do, or you can leave it as it is also. Let us say my Bastion host. And then that should have some public IP. Let us say Bastion IP. If you don't want to rename, that is also fine. You can leave the defaults. So now this is going to provision a Bastion host with some public IP. That is what we have done in the security tab. Next, so now if you see this, one of the subnet will be occupied by the Bastion host that will have some 64 addresses. The first VNet will be used by the VNets or VMs. I'm going to provision VM here. You can leave it as default or you can even rename if you want. Instead of default, let us say VMs subnet, because I'm going to provision VM here. That is again optional. Let me just review and create so that it will create a virtual network. Okay, now this is going to deploy a virtual network. Once this is done, what is going to happen is it is going to create a virtual network, and then within that, one of the subnet is Bastion subnet, where it is going to provision the Bastion host. The other subnet, I will try to create a virtual machine, second virtual machine. So let us see what happened to the first virtual machine. I think this is done. Let me click on go to resource. So now my first virtual machine is created. Let us see what is the public IP. This one doesn't have any public IP. If you see this, no public IP. It has only private IP. So there is no way for me to connect. If I try to do the connection, SSH requires a public IP, and the native SSH, if I want to connect here, you can clearly see that the first step is it needs to configure some features. Manual configuration. That means you need a VPN or express route, which is a dedicated private network to your on-premise network, right? Or you need a virtual gateway, all those things. Otherwise, you cannot access a private IP. So the only way is to be able to use this Bastion host. You can click on Bastion on the left-hand side, or you can, if I go to overview, I can just click on this connect via Bastion. Both are same, so it is going to come here only. And now I did not provision any Bastion host. It is saying it protects your virtual machines. So there are two options. So you can configure manually. You can deploy Bastion. Let me just uh, click on this one. Manual configuration, I'm doing it for the second virtual machine anyway. So I will just try to click on this button so that it can provision a Bastion host so that I can connect to that particular virtual machine, which is VM1. Now this is getting created. Okay, it has created some subnet. Okay, I think that work is in progress. Let me go to the second VM. Meanwhile, let us see what happened. Okay, that virtual network is still getting created. This is in progress. First virtual machine, Bastion host is also in progress. So I have to wait. Though I have created both the like new two tabs. I'm working with two tabs. I think I have to wait because one of them needs to complete. Once one of them is done, what I will do is I will try to connect to the virtual machine. So this is getting created. Okay. So if you look at VM1, there is no public IP, only private IP is there. And then if I go to networking, network settings, you can see that that port is open. We have opened two ports, I think, for 2022 SSH 80. Both are open, but you cannot connect to them because you are not in a private network and they don't have a public IP. This particular VM is having only private IP. So that is where we are trying to provision a Bastion host here. I think that is still getting created. Let me see meanwhile what happened to the second VM. Okay. I think that is virtual network is still getting created. Once the virtual network is done, what I will try to do is I will try to create a second VM. Now, let me try to do that actually. I will try to go to virtual machines here itself. And then I will create another VM. Create a virtual machine. Same resource group. Let us say my VM2. This is the second VM. Standard security is good enough. Ubuntu is fine. Standard BTS is good. Password, I will just give some password. Azure user. Confirm password. Okay, both did not match. I think that is done. And I will open this port 80 here also because I'm going to install a VM here. And the disk section, I will just go with a standard HDD. In the networking section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my VM. What is that VM? Whatever is that my VNet 2. This is for the second virtual machine. I have created this virtual network with a Bastion host. So this is already having a Bastion host. So since it is getting populated here, I will just select this virtual network. Now in this virtual network, we know that already one of the subnet is occupied by this Bastion host. That is where it is selecting that VM subnet, right, which is the other subnet. This is good enough. Public IP I don't want. I'll just say no. Port ST, this is fine. Management, nothing. Okay, you can disable, you can enable boot diagnostics, doesn't matter. So here, since I have used user data for the other one, here I can use custom data. Both are same. Both will do the same thing. As I mentioned, I have done a separate demo to explain what is the difference, what is custom data, what is user data, and all. You can go through that video, which is available in this channel. Let me just copy you a script here. I will copy a different script so that I can cover both the concepts for you. One is this is shell script. And this one is not a shell script. Let's go to the custom data section. Last comment I will delete. So if you see this is like YAML kind of syntax, right? Package upgrade is going to upgrade the VM OS, and then it is going to install Nginx, not Apache, right? So we are going to install Nginx, and then it is going to create a file again. Thank you for visiting our website and all, and it is going to create some index.html file. So this is looking good. Let me just go to tags. I don't want any tags. Let's review and create. So now my virtual machine, second one also is getting created. Click on create. Let me go to first one. While the second VM is getting created, I will go to the first one. And then I will see if this Bastion host is creation is done or not. I think Bastion host is still getting created. Let me try to connect. If I just go to connect and then connect via Bastion host. Okay, it is still updating. That means the Bastion host is not created yet. So we have to wait. So let me go to the second VM then. Let us see what is happening here. It is creating VM, but what happened to the VNet? Right, let me try to see what is the status of VNet. Both are in progress. So though I tried to speed up, I think I have to wait. Okay, this is done. Okay, VM creation is done. Resource group. Okay. Let me click on go to resource. My VM2. So same as VM1, this one also doesn't have any public IP. If you can see here, there is no public IP. Only private IP is available. So the only way for me to connect is use the Bastion host, either from here or you can click here. So click on Bastion host. This is also not done. That is still getting created. So I have to wait. Here also, I need to wait. Wow. Okay. I did not expect that Azure is going to take this much time. I wanted to complete this demo within 15 minutes. Let us see how it goes. Both are in progress. IVM1. This is creating Bastion host. This should not take actually this much time. If you see 6 minutes ago, it is saying Should not take this much time to create a Bastion host. Not sure what is happening. Hopefully it will be done successfully. Otherwise I have to do the demo again. Okay, I think here it is done, but it is saying status is not ready. What is the issue? What is the issue? Let me just go to VM. Refresh. Okay, there is no public AP. Let me try to connect. Connect via Bastion. I think this is done. Not sure what is that error. So now I am able to connect to this VM, which is not having a public IP. So I will use the same credentials, Azure user, and then password. You can't connect. You can see that provisioning state is succeeded. That means I should be able to connect to that VM. Okay, I think this connection is successful. My VM2. So you can see, okay, login failed. Wait, what happened? I will allow, no problem. Reconnect. What happened? Let me try again. Connect. Connect via Bastion. I'm not getting any errors also. Let me try to connect now. Login failed. Status is running. I think Bastion should work. What is the issue? Maybe I'm not giving the right password, but that should complain saying that your password is wrong. Okay, finally it worked. We did not do anything, right? As you can see, no changes, maybe some network issue. So I'm able to connect now. So now I am on the virtual machine. You can just check the host name also. It is my VM2. And you can try to access that local host because we have installed Apache server. So I can just use curl command. I cannot use a browser from outside because this one doesn't have a public IP. I will just do curl HTTP local host. So if the web server is successfully installed, we have created HTML file, if you remember. This is VM2, right? VM2, we have created this Nginx server, and then it should say Vidya Naipunya portal as title. Thank you for visiting our website. Let me just press enter here. Yes, you can see title is this one. Thank you for visiting our website. Web server host name is myVM2. That is what is the response that we are getting, which means our server installation is also successful and I am able to access, right? That is good. So now VM2 is done. Let me exit from here. I will close this. Let me look at the story of VM1. Okay, finally, this is done. Create a new Bastion host. Let me try to connect here now, VM1. Okay, what is that username, Azure user? We can see this is succeeded against it, right? And then Azure user password. The password is right. This should connect. So for VM1, we have created VM and then tried to provision Bastion host. In case of VM2, first we have provisioned a Bastion host in a virtual network and then created a virtual machine in the same virtual network. So though the demo is about Bastion host, but I wanted to cover both the scenarios, right? Before creating the VM, how to provision a Bastion host, and after creating the VM, how to provision a Bastion host. So I don't know why this is taking this much time even to connect. Okay. Okay, I will allow see text and messages copy. Okay. This is good enough. So if I just search for print host name, this is VM1. Same thing, right? We can access that local host. So in case of VM1, what is the script we have used? We have used this script, Ubuntu script, which means it should just show that, okay, HTML file from Ubuntu on Azure VM with private IP, something, computer name, all those things. So if you see this, my HTML file from Ubuntu with private IP something, public IP, I don't know why it is showing public IP. There is no public IP. Computer name is my VM1. So this is good, right? If you look at the VM, same, what is the private IP? 10.0.0.4. Same thing we are getting here. Okay. And my VM1 is the computer name. That is the name, my VM1. That is what it is displaying. Okay, good. I think this has taken more time than what I thought. Anyway, I hope this was useful. So you can just clean up the resources by going to Azure portal or from CLI, whatever works for you. And yeah, if you learn something, just like and then subscribe to my channel where I will keep on posting more resources on a regular basis. Happy learning. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.